the local tourney and get matched with my dame. Just one more goat bounce and I've got the game. Then on her turn she plays Shift Donald Duck. Gosh, it seems that I've run out of luck. With such a sugar rush it's unbelievable. We'll get the boost back before
I think we need to put a lock on the recording studio.
I don't know how they got in there.
This is getting out of hand.
The goats won't stop singing.
They just won't stop.
They come into play, they get their lore, and they just sing and sing and sing and sing.
Curse them.
They keep singing, "You're welcome" now. That's their new one.
Yeah, that's just, it's too much. It's too much to take. We have a real problem on our hands.
It was bad enough when they were singing Be King Undisputed over and over and over again, you know? But now it's "You're welcome."
Awful.
In goat song.
I know.
Just reverberating wherever we go.
I can't stop hearing it. I hear it in my dreams.
So we apologize for the overrun of goats singing things, folks. We are going to try to continue on with the podcast under duress here. So welcome to Smorcana, a Lorcana / Disney / snack crossover podcast. I'm Brett.
I'm Katie.
And we're going to persevere for you because we know you crave this content, or at least some of you do.
Crave. Nice use of crave. Very good snack term. Very nice. Speaking of people enjoying this podcast, we have gotten some reviews on Apple Podcasts.
We have. We're very fortunate to have received a bunch of 5-star reviews, which feels really good. It's nice to have a little bit of encouragement. Sometimes you're putting out content like this and you don't know who is listening or if they're enjoying it at all or if they think the entire segment you did where you just made up Sugar Rush Racers was really okay to have done it all.
It's just a nice little, high five from someone out there in the void. So we wanted to take a second and read a couple of these that made us feel really warm and fuzzy on the inside. This first one is titled "Thanks for the Love," and it reads, "Keeping the magic alive in Lorcana. Love this podcast. What kind of monster wants to eat Pua?" Anyways, keep it up. This show is the vibe that we all wish to see with Lorcana.
Love that. That's
it's so nice.
Kind.
And I think that one really, made us warm and fuzzy because that is our hope, right? That's kind of our mission statement with this podcast, is that we can have that great vibe for Lorcana that we've felt at events, that we've felt at our local game store, like just the good, positive, fun vibes.
Here's another one that says, "Disnerd Bliss. This is the absolute best podcast if you are playing Lorcana because you love Disney. I love this so much, and their practical tips for beginners have actually made me much better at the game."
Oh, so nice. And again, that's one of the things we hope to have happen from this podcast, right? Is to bring people into the game and build that confidence. And
this might be a little bit self-aggrandizing to be highlighting this stuff, but I wanted to mention it a little bit because it is difficult sometimes. It is hard to turn out these weekly episodes and keep on top of that release schedule when you don't always have the feedback. We're not a super huge podcast. We always said that we're going to try to be 9 people's favorite thing rather than 100 people's 9th favorite thing. So we kind of shoot for the moon sometimes and do some weird things. So it's nice to hear that that's resonating and that the cross-section of interests is being appealed to.
Right. And we wanted to take a second here to also, say thank you. And thank you for listening, the person who's currently listening to this in their car or in their home while they're cleaning or whatever. Thanks for listening, because we love doing this, and knowing that someone's listening on the other end is awesome.
In other news, report from the front lines. The soccer moms have each been to Disney World. Is that right?
Yeah, in the last 2 weeks.
And
because they're that cool.
They are our frontline reporters. Thank you, Tanya and Jess. And we have learned that there are still no caramel apples.
What a tragedy.
The horror continues. We'll have more as the story develops.
The horror will not end.
It's not all bad news. Despite the lack of caramel apples and the goats overrunning, everywhere.
We just can't escape this goat plague. This plague of goats.
I can't blame them. New Hampshire has nice hills. That's what goats like, right?
That's true. I don't think I've ever seen goats in the wild in New Hampshire, though. Right? Do goats just wander the woods?
Yep.
Where are goats native to?
Everywhere.
No.
Sure. Mongolia. For sure.
Yep.
The first time I ever had goat cheese was Mongolian goat cheese from Mongolia.
No, you're going to say the first time you ever had goat cheese was in Mongolia. And I was going to be like, you haven't been to Mongolia.
It was this, unpasteurized goat cheese from like a shepherd in Mongolia. It was in a plastic bag, like an unziplocked plastic bag.
That sounds terrible. That's
And
why
it
you
was
don't
from
like goat
Mongolia.
cheese.
It might be why I don't like goat cheese.
Oh my gosh.
It also might not have even been goat cheese.
Ugh, gross.
But anyway, I'm pretty sure goats all come from Mongolia or wherever there are hills.
Switzerland.
Sure. Yeah, there's different breeds of goats. I'm sure Mongolian goats, Swiss goats, New Hampshireese goats.
Swiss goats make Swiss cheese, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously. Hey, how's League going for you? We're in a league. We're having fun.
League
We're 2
is a
weeks
blast. I started with the Ruby Amethyst deck, the Elsa and Wreck-It Ralph deck, and I am kind of pivoting away from Ruby. I don't know. People seem to all want Ruby. Like, you wanted some Ruby cards. Lots of other people with that starter deck wanted the Ruby cards. So I started trading some of them away, and I have incorporated more Sapphire into my list. So that's pretty fun. I get to use Donald Duck Focused Flatfoot.
in. Love him. He's so cute.
Yeah, so I'm having fun with that, doing some ramp and some card draw, a little blurple action. How about you?
I'm also having a lot of fun. Last League, I kind of just took out cards by necessity, right? I would just kind of pick whatever color I had in the minority and just take it out and put other things in. I didn't really plan it too much, right? I kind of just was figuring out what League was, I guess, as we were going. I still ended up doing pretty well, though, in the tournament at the end. It all came together for me, but this time I've definitely had some more thought on the planning end. I'm actually already down to 2 colors, which is what happens at the end of the league.
Yeah, each week of the league, we have to drop 1 color. So the first week, you can have all of the colors. Last week, we could only have 5 colors. Next week, we'll only be able to have 4 colors.
Right. So I think I had 1 steel card in there, and I'm pretty sure he swapped it out last week, too. So I'm only down to 2 colors. I'm doing Ruby Emerald, which has been a lot of fun. I've got Big Robin Hood, the Hyenas. I opened a Clarabelle last week.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And an Anna.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm feeling really good about my deck. I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's really great to play all of those new cards. I think something that I get frustrated with at the beginning of a new set is making decks that have any old cards in them. I just want to make decks that have only all the new cards. So League definitely scratches that itch for me.
We're kind of burying the lead here because we have other big news. We're going to Seattle.
Whoa!
We're going to the Disney Lorcana Challenge in Seattle in October. We had no plans to go to this event.
No, ma'am. We did not.
But then it seemed like so many people from our local meta were going, and they were all saying, are you going? Are you going? Are you going to come? Are you going to come? So we decided to try to get tickets, and we did. And so many of our local meta mates did. And so now we're in the process of, splitting Airbnbs, and we're able to find very cheap tickets. They were like $200 round trip from Boston, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. We're really excited. We've both never been to Seattle before. So we're excited to kind of explore the city a little bit, but mostly play Lorcana with some pals there.
There has to be a Pearl Jam tour. I haven't looked into this, but there must be a tour of significant Pearl Jam sites, and I want to find it, and I want to do that.
Probably. There probably is.
We're now a Lorcana/Disney/Snacks/Pearl Jam podcast.
Yep, that's us. We're seeing Pearl Jam in just a couple of weeks.
We are seeing Pearl Jam at Fenway Park in a couple of weeks, and I am pumped for that. Anyway, nobody cares about Pearl Jam. That's not why you're here. That's not why you're here. We'll stop. What are we going to talk about today?
We have so much to talk about today. So we're going to give more of a recap of your experience in Toronto. I've got some questions for you, do a little bit of a deeper dive in there. And then we've got our main course.
Spaghetti and meatballs.
Spaghetti and meatballs. That's going to be a little game we've created here that's coming for our main course. I don't want to give too much away yet.
And then for dessert, we're going to give our first impressions of the meta so far. we're going to save the deep dive and the tips and the real hard analysis for a later episode as Set Champs approach. Plus, the meta is still developing, but we wanted to give our first impressions for a dessert. And then, of course, we'll have a dream card, and then we'll send you on your way.
Yeah, it's going to be a great episode. I can't wait. I'm buckled up. Are you hungry?
Starved. Let's go.
Hi. I have your appetizer.
Hi, Geraldine. How are you?
I'm good. Is this right?
Yeah. We had some leftovers from our trip, and we just asked that they get reheated. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because you had it last week, and I just wanted to make sure it was okay. Like if you add the poutine again.
Yeah. No, that's right. You did it right.
Okay.
Good job.
Thanks. Enjoy.
Oh no.
No, she's so nervous.
Well, we were still craving poutine. So we just asked for them to reheat this for us. It's still good.
Yeah, reheated poutine is still good. They can reheat it in an air fryer. That's supposed to make it nice and crispy, right?
Perfect.
Anyways, how was Toronto?
Toronto was great. I had some really, really cool experiences. And as the days go by, I'm reflecting more and more positively on the whole weekend.
Yeah, overall, how were the vibes compared to Dallas-Fort Worth? Because we've talked a little bit about how in Fort Worth, it felt like everybody was in this huge room. We couldn't really talk to other people. We were stuck. It just didn't feel cozy. There was nowhere to go outside of the venue.
It was a complete turnaround for me. It
Wow.
was so much better in Toronto than it was in Dallas. The biggest change was the location, of course, the location / the venue, right? Because we were in a very nice hotel in the middle of Toronto compared to being kind of in a parking lot half an hour outside of a city, right? So there were so many amenities, right? So many restaurants nearby, so many sights of Toronto. You could get any kind of food that you wanted. You had all that you'd expect from a major world city right on your doorstep. And then, of course, you had this beautiful hotel with all of these different spaces, all of these comfortable areas to exist, to play Lorcana, right? So what ended up happening was kind of 24/7, there were folks in every corner and every nook and cranny of the hotel playing Lorcana, jamming games, meeting people. It was a lot more spontaneous, a lot more flowing, a lot more fun than Texas for sure.
Wow, that's very encouraging to hear. I was worried about it for you because of our experience in Texas, worried that all of the challenges were going to be like that, and maybe that was how they were styled, but very encouraging to hear that. Do you think it's because they have 1K versus 2K in this? Do you think that was part of it?
I'm sure that's part of it, right? Because I think it would have been difficult to accommodate double the people at this one hotel in the middle of a major city, right? Because it wasn't a convention center, it was a hotel. We were in a grand ballroom for the main event. So it would have been difficult. I'm optimistic about Seattle, though, because that's similarly in the middle of a major city, but it's also at a convention center. So it seems like they're able to both accommodate more people and have access to all of those amenities. So yeah, I think it was a part of it in this particular circumstance for sure.
That's, again, really encouraging to hear. It gives me hope for the DLCs. We were a little bit deflated from Texas, so it's very nice to hear.
Yeah, I think it was also easier to see people in this 1,000 person event, having it be a little bit smaller. For instance, I was super excited to meet Katie from Live Laugh Lorcana, and I ran into her 4 times, I think, over the weekend, right? Because it was a smaller event. It was, whereas if it was 2,000 people, I don't know if I would have seen her at all, right? That's conceivable. But I also, I ran into Breezy a few times. I ran into Luke Wonderland a few times. That was cool. I saw Kawa from Podcana. And, so basically, if there was somebody there who I wanted to meet, I got to meet them. That was really cool. And then there were designers kind of floating through the event. And similarly, I met this designer's name was Fletcher, and got to tell him about the podcast and talk to him about the game a little bit. And he gave out promos, and he was just wandering the hotel. And if you were playing Lorcana, he was stopping and chatting with you. And that was really, really cool. It added to the atmosphere. It added to, the value of going to the DLC.
I couldn't get over the interview that you got with Rebecca and Becky, too.
That was so, so cool. It was at the very end of the weekend, and I hadn't met Becky yet. I had seen Rebecca on the Friday when we registered, but I was really hoping to meet Becky, too, and I saw Rebecca and Becky just after they kind of walked out from recording their last coverage for the event, and I was like, that's them, and I was super excited to catch them, because I was also chatting with Liam from the Illumineers and being like, oh, is Becky still around? Like, I gotta say hi to her. She's been such a big supporter of us. For them to agree to an interview as well was really, really cool of them.
Yeah, that was a blast to listen to. All right, so we know what the vibes are like. Now tell us about the main event. What did you face? How were your opponents? How did the day go?
So I brought Emerald Amethyst, worked on that list a good bit over the weeks leading up to the challenge.
Yes.
And I felt really good about it. And I don't think I would really change much about my list. I wanted to avoid Steel Song. I wanted to see Ruby decks sitting across from me. And overall, I can't complain about my matchup spread on the day. I ended up facing 3 Ruby Amethyst, 3 Mufasas, 1 Steel Song, which is good for me.
Yeah.
1 Sapphire Steel, and 1 Ruby Sapphire Popsicle.
That's great. That's kind of what you can hope for, right? I mean, there's a lot of other factors that go into a DLC. There's the travel. There's the location. There are the opponents too, right? Those can be a big factor in the game. So having the matchups be what you were expecting them to be is great.
Yeah, in that regard, variance was definitely on my side. I can't complain about the matchup spread that I got at all. I ended up 10-8 on the day, so definitely not what I was hoping for. I played pretty badly in a number of games. In my first round in particular, I definitely played the worst that I've played like ever.
Yeah.
I was really, really amped. It was against Sapphire Steel. And usually I have pretty good recall of how a game went and like what happened and the decisions I made. And I remember very little of these matchups. I was really, really excited, and I started to hit like analysis paralysis of not knowing what to do in any situation at all. And like the one turn I can remember that doesn't make any sense was it was my turn 6. I had, 5 ink. I had a handful of cards because I had a rabbit and, plenty of options, right? Plenty of things to do. I had an Ursula on the board ready to go. And we're about at parity. I have a lore lead. Like, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, this should be a spot where I can theoretically win the game from. And I decided to not ink that turn. I shifted an Ursula to not quest with her. And the game absolutely just like went out of control from there. It was like Tinkerbell into Simba, I think, from that point. And so like I lost track of what I was supposed to do in the match, and just got really in my own head, I guess, and it just stopped making cogent decisions at all.
Yeah, I mean, making one little mistake can definitely lead to others, right? If you make one minor mistake and then that kind of freaks you out, and then you make other mistakes, it's really easy, like you said, to kind of let it just get out of control, and then there goes the game.
Yeah, and I played similarly poorly in the second round. It's just that my draws were better, I guess, and my opponent was not Steel. It was a Mufasa list, so that was a little bit easier matchup, I guess. I just wasn't playing well at all. And by that point I was 2-2 in games and was kind of like settled down a little bit, and I was able to recover a bit and play a bit better through the middle portion of the day until I faced my first Ruby Amethyst matchup. And this is the matchup that I'd played the most. Like, we played this 50 times, I'd say, with you playing Ruby Amethyst.
Definitely.
So I knew how to play the matchup. I knew what I wanted to see. I knew, some of the more powerful lines to take. And I completely botched this first Ruby Amethyst matchup. I don't know. I was making really, really poor decisions, way overthinking things. I was not relaxed. I felt like super tensed and was like, oh, this is my matchup. This is what I was hoping to see. Like, I know how to do this. I know how to do it. And then like completely forgot what I was doing. Made just really, really poor macro decisions and micro decisions. Like, I didn't have a good game plan and I played the wrong cards each turn. Like
yeah.
it was really, really poor. I can't blame, my deck. I can't blame, luck or anything. It was just like very, very poor decision making. And it was like, I would do something and immediately think, why did I do that? Why did I do that right then?
Yeah, I mean, that to me shows it's not a lack of skill in the game, and it's certainly not a lack of preparation, right? That to me feels like it's the DLC, right? It's the way that it's set up. It's maybe the pressure that you put on yourself. I know that you were worried about, pleasing everybody back home and making everybody feel good and feel proud and make the pod feel proud.
Yeah, totally. I think, like all of our metamates lent me their foils to like pretty much foil out my deck because they wanted to like support me and cheer me on. It was really, really cool. And, I wanted to make everybody happy and proud and like winning some games for the pod. And, I just got super in my head.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's something that you at least know now that you can, work on for the next DLC, because we're going to go to many, many, many of them.
We talked about card game superpowers a few episodes back, and I said that your superpower is that you have nerves of steel. Like, you play the same whether we're in our kitchen or you're at a tournament, and how valuable that is. And I don't have that. Like,
yes.
I don't at all. I think back to when I was playing Game of Thrones, my last competitive card game, and my worst performances were always in team events. Like across the board, whenever we traveled for like a big team event, I played so badly. And part of it is like, I think I want to win more for my friends, to make people proud than I do for myself. And I absolutely play the best when I've prepared relatively little and I'm relaxed and have no expectations. So it's something I'm learning about myself. Something I think I want to improve on the most is just relaxing and just taking games as they come.
And I'm so glad that you still had a great time and you still had more wins than losses. Like, it still definitely was not a bad day.
Yeah. Oh, of course. My last 2 rounds were against Ruby Amethyst again. And I played much better than I had in the previous round against Ruby Amethyst. I won both of those rounds 2-0 to finish the day strong, which was really cool. The only time variance really got me was in my single round against Steel Song. My opponent was on the play going first in the first game, and I think I lost that game worse than I've ever lost a game of Lorcana. Like, there was nothing I could do. It's just like, when Steel Song plays A Whole New World going first and just goes to town, wipes your board turn after turn, there's not a whole lot you can do. Sometimes they just have those hands. And then on the draw, I was doing everything I wanted to do. I was bouncing singers with Kit every turn. I was keeping my opponent off of all of their songs. I was up to 15 or 16 lore, and then the game just turned and got away from me. And then my board was wiped turn after turn. I couldn't get over the line. I could get to 18 at the very end, but that was it. It was super frustrating, but really funny because my opponent sincerely asked me if I played Ursula after our games.
Yeah, that's tough. That tells you everything you need to know about how that went.
Yeah, it was particularly in the second game. If I had seen a single goat or a single Ursula of either kind, either the Ursula 2-drop or the Ursula 7-drop, I win that game. And, sometimes that happens. But that was really my only game I can think back on and say, yeah, variance really got me in that one. So not too bad out of 18 games.
Yeah, not bad at all. How were your opponents? How were the people?
Amazing. They were so kind. They were so fun to play against. They were gracious. They were fun to talk to. I have only good things to say about my opponents, especially my last opponent.
Ooh, or should I say, ooh la la.
Marc-André was a very, very kind soul, and I recognized his accent when we were sitting down, and I said, vous parlez français? And he said, yes, did my accent give me away? I said, maybe a little bit. And he says, tu parles français aussi? I said, I study on Duolingo. I have a 1,500-day streak in Duolingo. And so he asked me in very clear, slow French if we wanted to play the match in French. And so there was no English spoken for our 40-minute round. And I am more proud of that than I am of any, gameplay, because it felt really gratifying to have kind of worked on those skills, and then to be able to communicate in that language was super fun. I learned a lot of esoteric French terms, because ink doesn't come up too much in Duolingo, or
Right.
like deck of cards, and fox is one that I had not encountered. But I will never forget how to say fox, how to say ready, set, draw.
That's awesome. That's so much fun. I love that story. And you have another story about speaking French at this DLC.
Yeah, so my confidence was high in my French speaking skills, if not my Lorcana skills. And it was the next day, and my wonderful traveling companion, Adam, shout out to Adam, who I roomed with, who I drove with, who was a great friend to have along on the trip. But anyway, Adam noticed that there were some French-speaking children at the ticket redemption table, and they were having trouble communicating what they wanted. And so he brought them over, and he's like, "Hey, Brett, speak French to them, speak French to them." And so I was like, tu as besoin de combien de billets? Like, how many tickets do you need? What are you trying to get? And they were like, on ne sait pas vraiment. And I was like, we don't know. We have no idea. We don't know, really. And so I was able to determine that they didn't play Lorcana, that they had wandered in from the hotel. And so they were trying to figure out what this was. And one of them said, like, "Oh, can we see a card?" And so I said, 5 minutes. And Adam and I sat down, and we had just finished our sealed event. And so we took out most of our sealed deck. I kept like a Daisy Duck, that I had pulled. But we gave them most of our sealed cards. And I went through some of the basics of how to play Lorcana in French as much as I could because of my experience with Marc-André the day before. And so we sent them away with a bunch of Lorcana cards and 2 decks so that they could go and play these 10 to 12-year-old kids. And then they wrote us a message on Spotify and said, "Oh, thank you for the decks." And so that was really, really cool. Happy to play a part in potentially growing the game and also work on my French skills in the meantime. That was super cool.
Really cool to be able to use all your skills out there, man.
Yeah. I was riding high on the Sunday. Adam and I played in the sealed. I 3-0'd the sealed. I got a bunch of tickets, which is cool. We went to see a Blue Jays game after that.
Yeah.
And then we went back, and I got to talk French and interview Becky and Rebecca. And, Sunday was a really cool time.
That's an absolute blast.
Also, a quick shout out to Ben and Melissa. I was trying to get a Rapunzel and a Cinderella non-foil promo, and I hit the 30-point tier for tickets in the main event. And then in the sealed, I have this kind of, complex where I can't take tickets when they put them down in front of me anymore. I don't know what it is, but they set these tickets down, and then I have these great social interactions with my opponents. And I'm supposed to just take the tickets, and they have to watch me go away with all the prizing. And
yes, because you won.
Yeah, but it feels really weird, and it feels like not the point of the side events to me so much. So I had split all my tickets with my opponents, and then I ended up a few tickets short of getting my Cinderella and Rapunzels. And I was telling Ben and Melissa about this, and they were able to scrounge up some tickets for me from a teammate, and so that was really cool. So thanks.
What goes around comes around. That's really good.
Yeah, it's karma. I do wish, though, part of me does wish that the tickets were given out after the event based on record. And so you don't have this weird kind of social situation of having these tickets between you and your opponent. It's like, "Oh, I won." And then you grab your tickets and run away.
It is odd.
It kind of feels weird. I preferred it in Texas, actually, because the first time we did sealed, I 3-0'd that, and I was able to just go up and get my tickets after that. That was awesome.
Okay, so the most important question of all, how is the food situation?
The food was great. It's whatever you wanted to find. I think that's the cool thing about being in a major city like that. Whatever cultural food you want, you can find it. Adam and I were wandering around on Saturday night looking for Thai food. We said we want Thai food. And we went to a couple places, and they were jammed. And the second place we went to, we had put our name in, and they were like, "There's a bar upstairs." And we go upstairs, we're like, "Oh, we'll sit at the bar for a little bit." And we realize it's a whole taco restaurant in this bar. And we're like, well, I guess we don't need our Thai food anymore. Like, let's just sit and have tacos up here. So we had tacos in the second floor of a Thai restaurant.
Classic.
You know?
Classic.
So it's kind of like whatever you wanted, you could find, really. If you were very specifically looking for Thai tacos, then you could find Thai tacos.
Were they Thai-style tacos?
No. They were distinctly Mexican-style tacos. But I like to think that they had a Thai je ne sais quoi.
Little flair. That's awesome. I'm so glad that Toronto ended up like that for you. I'm so glad that the experience was good overall, that you felt like you were prepared in terms of being a player in Lorcana, right? And I'm really excited for us to go to Seattle now and have a third DLC to compare all this stuff to.
We're super, super fortunate that we get to do this and that we're making it work. And it's not something that everybody can do, so I don't take it for granted. And, going to Seattle, I think the one thing I'm going to just try to keep in mind is mindset, and just relax and go for the ride, have fun, focus on the atmosphere and the privilege of being there rather than an expectation of a particular result.
Definitely. Hey, let's get a main course in here. This was a big appetizer.
Time for something fresh.
Meh, 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 meh.
Ooh, spaghetti and meatballs, one of my favorite suppers.
Yum! I'm very excited for this meal.
We're going to play a game with our food. They say you shouldn't do that, but, we can make up our own rules. It's our podcast.
Yeah, food fight exists. We can do this.
Yeah. All right, so we're calling this game...
The other end of the spaghetti.
The other end of the spaghetti. All right, so in this game, we've each randomly selected 3 cards from Shimmering Skies. We have 1 card from each ink color represented. So, Katie has an amber, an emerald, and a sapphire card, and I have a random amethyst, ruby, and steel card.
Right. We have not seen the other person's cards.
And we're basically going to play password. We're going to try to guess the other person's cards. They're going to only use clues that revolve around food and or Disney restaurants.
Yes.
You can't say numbers. You can't say the name of the card. You can only use food-related clues to try to get the other person to guess the card. And you can play along at home or in the car or at work, wherever you are. See if you can use these clues to guess these 6 cards.
Okay. All right. I will go first. I have an amber card. I can tell you that much.
Okay.
And it's
ready.
from Shimmering Skies, from Disney's Lorcana, a trading card game by Ravensburger.
All right, 30 seconds on the clock. Ready, set, go.
Okay, this is a little bakery in Hawaii, and there's a tiny little chef.
Okay, so it's something Lilo and Stitchy?
Oh, and
It's Lilo.
Ooh.
Lilo the cake decorator.
Yeah, Lilo cake decorator. I knew I couldn't say cake.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to just give you the idea of bakery in
you
Hawaii.
Did it. Okay, yeah, that was great.
Okay, all right. What have you got?
All right, so amethyst.
Okay. 30 seconds on the clock, Judge. You got it. And...
Thanks, Judge.
No problem. And go.
All right, you are in a chocolate shop.
Ooh.
There are lots of little, tiny truffles all lined up. Lots of little, like red, romantic kind of truffles. But then there's one royal truffle who stands above them all. It has a crown. It's orchestrating all of the other truffles.
Is it on a diplomatic queen? No.
And
It's
this
amethyst.
truffle, it's an amethyst card.
Oh,
yep.
shoot.
And then you get a feeling that like the partner truffle, the other truffles next to him, there's one huge angry truffle.
Oh.
Red and like looks like it would be like really spicy, but then he's kind of like a little diminutive truffle and like he's kind of filled with like sweet little cream.
Oh, is it Mickey?
No.
There is no Mickey Amethyst, is there?
No.
Like ever.
No.
Stressful.
I think you lost. It's been 30 seconds.
What is it? What was it?
We lost, I should say. It was the King of Hearts.
Oh,
Monarch
the
of
King
Wonderland.
Of Hearts. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did a bad job, I guess.
No, you didn't do a bad job. I did a bad job knowing what was an amethyst card.
If you managed to get it out there, please let us know.
Yeah, I won't be offended. Please tell us. Okay, here's the next one.
Okay, so this is an emerald card now.
Yeah, we're going to do great.
Okay, here we go.
All right. It's an emerald card. 30 seconds on the clock, Judge. No problem. Thanks, Judge. Okay, and go. All right, we're on a tropical island once again.
Okay.
If you're in a beautiful restaurant on the beach, perhaps on this tropical island, and the waiter is really great and gives you great service the whole time, you would say a pleasantry to them as you're leaving.
You're welcome.
Yeah!
Hey, tropical. Yeah, that works. Yeah, good job.
What can I say except
Don't the goats will hear.
Oh, dang it.
Don't get them started.
Uh-oh.
All right, I'm up again, huh?
Yes.
All right, here's a ruby card from Shimmering Skies.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Ruby.
30 seconds.
Okay.
And go. You are in the Wilderness Lodge.
Ooh, okay.
And you want the biggest, best, most spectacular piece of meat. You want it to be humongous.
Yes.
This place, you're in when you're in the Wilderness Lodge with antlers all over the place.
Yeah, this is Gaston.
Yeah.
Woo!
Nice one.
All right, we're back on track now. Track.
Yeah.
Okay, my last card for you. It's a sapphire card. Okay? Judge, do we have the time in the clock?
All right. Thanks, Judge.
Thanks, Judge. I love the Judge.
Yeah. He's really good at his job.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah,
we don't use him enough.
Yeah.
He's always at the restaurant. We don't use him enough.
The Judge.
The Judge. Okay. And go. All right. So this card is reminiscent of if you go to a restaurant and you eat a lot of really good food and it fills up your belly, you might say that you look like this card because you're so full. But you're just full of food. You've got like a little bump.
Okay, I'm
a little
stuffed.
Food in the oven.
A little food in the oven. Somebody's pregnant, like Chicha?
Yeah!
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yikes. Whew.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, that was a
food
hard one.
babies are a thing, right?
Yeah, totally. Whew. All right, my turn. Last one.
Yes.
A steel card. I think this is going to be a nice one. This will be clear.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Yep.
30 seconds, starting
You got it.
now. All right. So you're at the Polynesian resort.
Ooh, love it.
Okay. And you want to get something like some poultry with citrus, right? Maybe it comes dressed in a coconut, right?
Ooh, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Moana.
All right. So that's pretty good. The only one we missed was King of Hearts.
Yeah, that's great.
Between us. So that was fun.
That was really fun. I liked that
The other end of the spaghetti.
And that was another episode of The Other End of the Spaghetti.
I think that's a great proof of concept that you can, in fact, describe all cards in Lorcana using only food terminology and play the game that way. Hey, how's it going?
Oh, hey, Toby.
Hey, I've got some tiered cakes for you, some mini tiered cakes. I guess people are into this, just like putting things in tiers. Not my thing, but here you go.
Thanks, Toby.
Yeah.
Thanks for understanding. We're about to chat about the meta a little bit.
All right, I'll see you later. I don't care about that,
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's a good way to get rid of him, though.
Yeah, just tell him you're talking about the meta and he'll run away.
He'll run away. But we are talking about the meta.
We just wanted to do a little bit of an overview of how the meta is shaping up in the early days of Shimmering Skies. It is at this kind of inchoate stage where we don't know what it's really going to look like. There haven't been that many big events quite yet.
Exactly. And we haven't seen that many events near us, right? There haven't been that many events nationally or globally to really tell us about the meta, and we haven't had that many around us either.
Yeah, so, we're going to give some impressions about the data that we have seen, about the decks that we have seen flying around. But our kind of deep dive meta analysis, we'll wait until we get closer to set champ season.
Exactly. So for now, what we can glean is that some of the old kings of the Roost are still on the top.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, we're still seeing Ruby Amethyst. We're still seeing Steel Song. And, Ruby Sapphire as well. I'd say those 3 decks have maintained their meta share as we move into Shimmering Skies.
Definitely. I think the phrase "still seeing Steel Song" is a good Lorcana-themed tongue twister.
Still seeing Steel Song.
We're still seeing Steel Song.
Yeah, totally.
It's very good.
That puts your acting skills to the test for sure.
We should use it as a podcast warm-up for ourselves.
Yeah, still seeing Steel Song. Still seeing Steel Song. Ooh. And we're good. That'll be relevant forever, I think. I feel like Steel Song is going to be a relevant deck forever. So.
Yeah, I agree. Those are the good old standbys, right? We've gone through and we've made our own Ruby Amethyst or own Steel Song, and they're very similar to what they used to be.
One of the largest tournaments that we have seen is there was a 10K in Georgia that Brennan DeCandio won with a Steel Song list. The new cards were basically Naveen and Pete. I think that was it for new cards.
Wow.
So it's just really taking some of the most powerful cards from the new set, incorporating them into old builds. Ruby Amethyst maybe plays the library, maybe plays the new Elsa. Ruby Sapphire got Tipo and Visions of the Future. So a few cards to incorporate into these old archetypes. It makes sense that they would be performing really well early on, right? Because if you have 55 to 57 cards that already worked super well, why not just put in a few new powerful cards, call it a day? You don't have to go through that whole process of iterating to find the new hotness, right?
Exactly. There are some new hotness cards, though. What are some of the new ones that are seeing play? I know Clarabelle is like the hottest ticket in town right now.
Yeah, so pretty much every Emerald deck is incorporating Clarabelle, which makes sense. She's really, really strong. There hasn't been a Emerald deck that's come to the forefront to take over a big share of the meta, but you can pair Emerald with pretty much any color and make some headway. Yeah. Like even Emerald Sapphire is performing pretty well, and there's some early builds of that color combo. So, Clarabelle's driving a lot of Emerald success. Daisy Duck is as powerful as we expected, I think.
Yeah, Daisy Duck's incredible. I love how that card works right now in the meta, too. Even when I have an opponent that plays it, I am just overjoyed at the fact that it exists. And the aesthetics of the card. I think sometimes the cards that you see that are controlling the meta aren't like your favorite characters or your favorite art necessarily, right? Like sometimes something goes all the way to the top, like Diablo. Like I don't care about the crow from Sleeping Beauty. Like I would have much preferred that to be a Mickey that was like running the meta and doing all the things. So having a Daisy Duck be at the forefront of this is really cool. And having a Clarabelle be one of the big cards just makes sense with Lorcana. I'm like, okay, I feel the same way about Diablo that I do about Clarabelle. I think Clarabelle's cool. I think Diablo's cool too, but I like Daisy Duck a lot. It's cool.
I'm pumped about Elsa and her meta share. Because Elsa hasn't been a super prevalent card for quite a while. And so to see an Elsa that's a total bomb and that is in fact enabling the use of her Floodborn version more and more, that's super exciting to see. I love that card.
Yeah, I think she's really great. I think that one's going to last for a while too.
Mm-hmm. Your Welcome has been really strong. We thought that would be, it's a flexible green card. It's seeing a lot of play. Pete, of course, seeing a lot of play in most steel decks as an option to shut down your opponent's actions.
Yeah.
A high skill card, which I really like about it, right? Like timing your Pete is almost like timing your Ursula, figuring out when you need to maybe take a turn off of doing other things to play your Pete. That's really fun gameplay, a skill-intensive gameplay. I really like Pete, and I'm glad that he hasn't quite yet developed into a tyrant of the meta, right? Like, people haven't stopped playing actions because of Pete, so I think he's at a good spot. He feels balanced so far anyway.
Playing against Pete can be a real nightmare, so it's definitely a card that will last for a while.
So just seeing some really powerhouse cards shoved into old decks is the story early on, which, makes sense. But there are a lot of really fun new decks.
Yeah, we spent a lot of the day yesterday just building new decks.
Hey, you stopped talking about the meta. I couldn't help but overhear that you moved on to some other stuff.
Yeah, like literally 1 second ago. Were you over there listening?
Yeah, I've been brewing again,
Oh,
with the new cards,
really?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so check out this pile right here.
Oh, wow. Oh.
It's all Maleficents.
Yeah, no, I'm getting that. Yeah.
Maleficent over and over again.
That's incredible.
You just play 36 Maleficents.
Okay.
And then you play my favorite combo card, Bruno from Kanto.
Yeah, right. You do love Bruno from Kanto.
You play Diablo. You play a Maleficent because you have 36 of them.
Sure, right.
And then you ensure that your Bruno will trigger. I think this is a dank pile. I know people are skeptical, but I think that this could be the pile that delivers Maleficent to the top someday, and then you will all be thanking off-meta Toby.
Wow, that kind of sounds like a threat, Toby.
It's not a threat, it's a promise.
Oh.
Yeah, Maleficent is the way. See, the key is that when you play a Maleficent on turn 1, and then a Maleficent on turn 2, and then a Maleficent on turn 3, and then a Maleficent on turn 4, then you are having a nice streamlined curve, and you are ensuring that the shift Maleficent will always come down when you need it to.
Sure,
Other people are like, oh, you need other characters, but I just need Bruno, Maleficent's little bird friend.
Yeah, Diablo.
And then a whole bunch of Maleficents.
Wow. I mean, sure. That's a fair idea.
And you know what else you can do with this pile?
What?
You can play We Know the Way.
Oh.
You play We Know the Way. And then you just say Maleficent and you play Maleficent for free. It's really fun. Really cool. And super strong. And someday you will remember that I made this pile.
I don't think we'll ever be able to forget that you made this pile.
All right. I just wanted to chime in, and just go back to whatever boring meta stuff you're doing, I guess.
Thanks, Toby.
That's Toby for you.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, this looks fun.
It does look fun.
Yeah.
I like the idea of just playing a bunch of Maleficents. She
Yeah.
has a lot of forms.
Well, this is the thing, right? There are so many new archetypes, and are they going to be tier 1? Probably not. Are they super fun? Yeah. You can play a whole bunch of queens in your deck.
Yep.
You can play, Sapphire, Amber queens. You can play all Robin Hoods. You can do Emerald Steel Robin Hoods with like Sherwood Forest. Super cool.
So much fun.
You have Blast from the Past that's enabling these like mono character decks too. If you can play 16 daisies and play Blast from Your Past and get a whole bunch of them back. Like it's cool.
It's the fun thing about being in set 5 right now, right? Is that now there have been so many Lorcana cards made that you could make a Maleficent deck, you could make a Robin Hood deck, you could make a Mickey and Minnie deck, right? You have so many variations of all of these other characters.
The deck building feels more open in this set than ever before, which makes sense. Like you said, there are more cards, but also there are so many cards in this set that encourage you to build around them. Like, I think of all of the legendaries, like every single legendary says, build a deck for me. Camilo, build a deck for him with a whole bunch of high lore questers. Mirabelle screams, build a deck for me. The Genie, build a deck for me. Like, they're all begging you to just build a deck for that card rather than be a generically quote unquote good card. A lot of Shimmering Skies feels like, what if you did this wacky thing?
It's a joy to play, an absolute joy to play. There are some cards that we still want to see in decks. We've personally underexplored them. I feel like they're underexplored in the meta right now.
Yeah, I think Genie's one of them.
Oh, I really want a Genie deck
It's
so bad.
potentially a super strong effect if you can make it work. There's a lot of exerting, a lot of freeze effects with the kind of Annas and Elsas in the game. And Genie says, hey, couple those with me and get more value out of all of your exertions.
Blast from Your Past, like we just talked about, right? With those single or double character decks.
That one card opens up so many archetypes and haven't really gotten to try that yet. Haven't seen it around too much. I think that the Sugar Rush Racer Location package is really interesting. I'd love to see a little bit more of that floating around. Try that.
Some Taffeta Mutton Fudge up in there.
Absolutely.
Some Ryansis.
The Shift Merlin feels like a card that eventually could be amazing, right? In the right deck and just finding the right home for him. Some of these Sapphire items don't get talked about. We have so many Sapphire items that key off of other items that it's kind of like you just lump them all into one crate and say, like, that's its own deck. But Like, look at Merlin's Carpet Bag. That's a good card. Like, that's a value engine in one card. It lets you get an item out of your discard pile each turn for the cost of 1. So, like, you can play a Popsicle every single turn with that if you want to. It's just a really good value engine.
Yeah, there's all the knights, too, right? You've got Snow White, the knight. You've got the dwarves. You've got Donald Duck, who's a knight.
Yeah.
You've got Cinderella, who's a knight. There's a lot unexplored there, too.
Yeah, so just, early days, lots to try, lots of games to be played. It absolutely doesn't feel stale at the moment, which is great. That's what you want from a new expansion. You want it to shake things up. You want it to inspire new deck building choices and invite the creation of new archetypes. And I think that's what it has done so far.
Yes, much like this delicious miniature tiered cake, it is not stale. It is delicious. There are many flavors we can experiment with here. We can't wait. Woo, that was a delicious meal. Let's get a little after dinner mint. What have you made for us here, Brett? You've cooked up some dream cards in the old mint factory.
Yeah, I've got a pair of mints for us.
Ooh, a double mint.
This is from an IP that we have not seen in Lorcana, but I expect we will see it one day.
Ooh, I hope.
It has perhaps the most famous food-related scene in any Disney movie that I can think of.
Yes, definitely. It was actually a meal we had earlier in this very podcast.
Mm-hmm. It had perhaps on a bella notte.
See.
So we have here 2 cards. The first is Lady and the second is Tramp.
They are so cute and they're connected. They're connected by the piece of spaghetti over both cards.
Yeah. Okay. So first we have Lady, Proper Pup. A ruby card, 2-cost inkable, 1 strength, 3 willpower, quests for 2. She is a storyborn hero.
Yes, she is.
So some good stats. Really solid stats. A 1/3 that quests for 2. Great.
Yeah.
Now, she has 2 abilities. The first is Miss Park Avenue, which says, at the end of your turn, if this character is exerted, deal 1 damage to this character. So a little bit of that Smee effect, right? Where, yeah, she's got great stats, but she's going to take damage when she's out on her adventures.
Right.
And then she has a second ability, Bella Notte. Your characters named Tramp gain Rush.
Oh, I love that.
And her flavor text is,
side by side with your loved one, you'll find enchantment here.
And she couples, of course, very nicely with Tramp, who is a 3-cost inkable ruby card, 3 strength, 3 willpower, quests for 1, storyborn hero. So, fairly common stat line, right? 3 cost, 3, quests for 1. He has the ability, What a Dog. While challenging, this character gains resist +1 and +1 strength.
Oh, I love that. He's a little scrappy. He's ready to fight.
Yep, ready to fight, but a little bit more vulnerable to removal when he's not in a challenge.
Right.
And then he also has the ability Bella Notte, but his says, your characters named Lady gain +1 lore.
Oh, that's so nice.
And he has the flavor text, Hey Joe, Butch say he want the 2 spaghetti speciale, heavy on the meatballs.
That's how Tramp gets the spaghetti and meatballs, because he goes to the back of Tony's restaurant.
Quick aside, love Tony's in the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, yes, if you've never been, you have to check out Tony's restaurant in the Magic Kingdom.
Kind of a classic Italian restaurant right when you walk into the Magic Kingdom on the right side. It's beautiful in there, and if you time it right, you can watch the parades while you eat.
We were lucky enough to time it perfectly one day, and it was magical and perfect.
It's like, oh, look, we're having some garlic bread, and there's the fire-breathing 20-foot Maleficent puppet.
Yep.
Pretty
Incredible.
Cool. But back to Lady and the Tramp here. They couple, of course, very well together. You can play Lady on turn 2, and then on turn 3, you drop the Tramp. He buffs her questing abilities, and she allows him to rush into things and use his extra resist and strength. So a pair made to be played on curve, super strong together. I think it would be really fun to see them in this capacity in Lorcana.
I can't believe they haven't been in Lorcana yet.
They will. I think it's exciting that we haven't seen these IPs, right? There's so much that hasn't been explored yet. And we have all of that to look forward to, because Lady and the Tramp are going to be in Lorcana. It's just a matter of time, and it will be really exciting having waited all of this time. Thanks for listening, everybody. As the harvest season approaches in North America, we are super excited to be talking about some of the news about the next set of Disney Lorcana next week.
Yes, we will get the inside scoop from a local farmer about this harvest, and we can't wait to chat about it with you. We are also going to be having another week of League. We're going to be playing our decks all over again. We've got some fresh, shiny Shimmering Skies decks that we've cooked up, and we're going to keep on testing with those and chatting with you about them. Until next time, remember that you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Gmail @Smorcana. Thank you so much for listening.
And keep on snacking, y'all.
Om, nom, 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 nom.